Hello, my name is Rocío. I'm an English teacher and I'm really happy to be part of Learn English Together. I am here to share my story with you of how I went from zero to fluent, and hopefully my story will help you get motivated so you can finish what you started. During this conversation, I would also like to talk to you about some of the main problems that learners have to face and give you some strategies so you can overcome them and be able to get to that point of confidence and fluency that you're looking for. But first, let me tell you a little bit more about who I am. My name is Rocío. Like I mentioned before, I am originally from Costa Rica, but I live in Guatemala. I've been an English teacher since 2010, and I've been working with adults, teenagers, and children ever since. I worked as a middle school teacher, teaching language art and debate here in Guatemala. And right now I have an online program where I am working with teenagers and adults. I focus on teaching Spanish speakers, mostly Latin Americans, to help them develop the English fluency that they require to be successful in their daily lives, to get better jobs, and to aspire to achieve any goals that they set their minds to. But like you, long before becoming an English teacher, I had to be an English student. Long time ago. I started learning English when I was in primary school. My parents required me to learn English and I was not happy about it. I just never enjoyed the process, and I thought the classes were so boring. I didn't understand the point and I couldn't relate to the topics. I couldn't relate to my teachers. So after that, I had the opportunity to travel abroad, and I had to learn English because I went to an English-speaking country and nobody spoke Spanish. So basically I had no choice. I started taking lessons. I went to a local school and it was really hard. It was really scary. I was terrified. And before that, I was always ashamed of speaking English. I always felt insecure and I felt like I just couldn't do it the right way, that it made me sound funny, that it made me sound ridiculous. So I had associated a lot of negative emotions with the language. And when I got to this point where I had no choice but to learn the language, but I also got introduced into a different culture and I got to meet new people, then everything slowly started to change. The classes were difficult in the beginning. It was hard to go to a school where most of the students were adults and I was a teenager. But slowly I started to get into the process and I started to enjoy being able to communicate more freely with my classmates, my teachers, and the people that I was meeting around, like just in my daily life. So that started changing my view of what English could do for me. It was not just about taking a class in school or having to pass an exam. It was about living, about meeting people, about making friends, about getting to know a different culture and experience this from the very core. Basically, that opened my eyes and it changed my perspective. It made me fall in love with English. Another thing that really changed my opinion was that I had to communicate with people from many different countries. So basically, when I went to classes, I was the only one that spoke Spanish and everybody spoke different languages. And we would all make mistakes. It was not just me feeling funny or feeling embarrassed by the mistakes I made. I realized that it was part of the process and that it was okay to make mistakes. Of course, I had wonderful teachers, but it also helped me to see that learning a language is a process that happens slowly, and that every day, gradually, as I went to classes and I spoke with my friends and I started interacting with more people, I was being able to understand more and more. And that made me feel really good, really confident about myself. So another thing that I realized is that it wasn't enough just with going to classes. And because I was in another culture, well, everything was in English. The ads, the newspapers, television, the radio, everything. So what I did is I decided, I have to start living my life like I would in my country. So I started associating the language not only with going to classes, but doing things that I enjoyed, that I enjoyed before going to this country. And that started making it even more fun because I began to understand the songs that I was singing and TV shows that I was watching and the movies that I liked. So this is really when I fell in love with English. I realized it was such a beautiful language and it made me feel happy whenever I was surrounded by the language because I associated all positive experiences with it. And meeting beautiful people and having wonderful friends and having so much fun. So it changed completely and it became a passion. And that's when I decided that I wanted to be a teacher and that I wanted to share that love and that passion with other people, to help them overcome all the fears that I had before and how scared I was of speaking this language, so that they would be able to succeed like I did, from the same perspective, making it part of your life and enjoying it, so it's not a task you have to complete, but it's something that becomes a part of you. I finally became a teacher in 2010 and I started teaching in 2011. And ever since, I just cannot see myself doing anything else. My main objective has always been to help my students learn through fun, through relatable activities, and making it a pleasurable experience, so that we stop seeing learning English as something boring, as something difficult that we have to do because everybody has to speak English. Well, no, do it because it makes you feel good, because it opens doors for you, because it helps you grow. And when you see it from that point of view, it makes it so much easier to learn because it's not mandatory anymore. It's a choice to grow. It's a choice to be better. So that was my main goal. And then when I decided to start my own program, I made it a rule to have fun in classes and to leave stress behind. I don't want my students to stress over learning English because stress affects our emotions deeply and our learning process too. When we're stressed, it's really hard to learn. It's really hard to remember. So to be able to learn, you have to, number one, make a personal decision. It has to be your choice. Number two, you need to make it relatable. It needs to be fun. It needs to be something that you enjoy. And number three, you need to relax. If you don't relax, it's gonna be so much harder, and in the end, you end up giving up. Okay, and I know you're thinking, well, maybe not everybody can make the decision to learn and people just don't like it, but they have to because they are required for their job or for their careers. So what do you do when that happens? Then you need to focus on the positive aspects that learning English will bring to your life and stop thinking of it as something that you have no choice over, because you do have a choice, and the choice is to learn it and to try to take advantage of it and make the best out of it. So let's talk about some of the problems that we all had to face and that are very common when you become an English student or a language student in general. And one of the main problems is time. And my students sometimes tell me, I just don't have the time. I'm too busy. I'm too tired to study. I'm too tired to practice. And we need to stop thinking of time as something that comes by itself. Time doesn't come. You have to make the time. And yes, it can be hard in the beginning, but once you make it a habit, it becomes natural. you should also realize and understand that it's not forever. You're not going to be an English learner forever, like the same way you were when you started or the same way you are now. It gets easier and you get to a point where, yeah, you continue learning because we never stop learning. We always learn new things, but you don't have to dedicate so much time to it because you reach your level of satisfaction and the fluency that you require to be successful. So it's temporary. And I'm sure that if you get your things organized and set your priorities straight, you will find the time. It's just a matter of, again, making a decision and taking steps or making a few changes in life so we can make it happen. Another big problem is consistency. And that one's a little bit more difficult to most people. Why? Because it really takes work to be consistent. Doesn't matter what you do, going to the gym, learning a language, keeping your house clean, being organized at work, you name it. If you want to be consistent, you have to, again, make a decision and say, I'm gonna do it, and then take action. So consistency eventually becomes a habit. They say it takes about 3 weeks of doing something every single day for it to become a habit. So set your mind to that. 3 weeks. That's all it's going to take you. You do it every day, little by little, and then consistency becomes part of you. And before you realize it, you're just doing it every single day of your life. And consistency is super important when you're learning a language. If you're not consistent, you won't see improvement. You won't see any growth. And eventually, that will lead to dissatisfaction, frustration, and giving up. All right, the third problem that comes to my mind is not having an adequate guide. And it's so hard to decide what is the best program for you, who is the best teacher for you, because there are so many options that sometimes we could get confused trying to make the best decision. So I believe that you have to follow your instinct and you have to be true to yourself. If a program doesn't feel right, if it doesn't make you feel joy, then it's not the right one for you. If a teacher doesn't have chemistry with you or you don't have chemistry with the teacher, then you might need to find another one, because that is super important. It's necessary for you to feel comfortable with your teacher, because your teacher is your guide. So you need to be safe, you need to be comfortable, and you need to be happy. And in order to do that, you need to find the right person. How? You need to be honest, communicate with your teacher, set clear objectives, and tell them exactly what you want and how you feel, and see how that relationship develops. Eventually, you will see or you will understand if you're with the right person or it is better for you to find somebody else. And it's also essential for you to keep an open mind when you're learning a language and get rid of some beliefs that can be misguiding and taking you the wrong way. Because learning a language, well, many people say, I need to learn it fast. Or some schools promise you can learn English really fast if you do this. I have this magic program, this magic recipe. Well, it doesn't really work like that. It takes time and effort, and it happens gradually. So it's not gonna happen just because, there's a magic solution for you to just be fluent in a few weeks. So you need to get rid of that idea and be realistic. Also, languages are not exact sciences, or at least I don't see it like that. I see languages as being more like art. So you need to relax and let it develop slowly and gradually. so that you don't get anxious and frustrated when things are not exactly the way you expect them to be. Especially with English, there are so many exceptions and the rules are not always clear. So you need to go around trying to find the best way, trying to locate patterns and make associations of things that are easy for you to remember, and maybe stop expecting English to be more similar to your language and let it happen. Let it grow. It will. If you're learning by yourself, sometimes finding materials can be tricky. So it's important to investigate a little bit. Right now with the internet, we have access to so much information. It's ridiculous. But you need to know exactly what you're looking for, because if you go with material that is too advanced, there's a chance you're gonna get frustrated. And if you go with material that is too basic, then you're gonna get bored. So you need to be clear about what you want to learn with your objectives, and try to find the materials that adapt best to your level. So that's gonna take some research, and that's gonna take some extra time. Remember, if you don't have a teacher, you need to do that. It's doable, but you need to take your time to find what is right for you. You can use videos, you can use worksheets, you can use books, you can use even real content like blogs or magazines. Those are great tools to help you learn a new language. If you're struggling to find the right materials and you're learning by yourself, well, a good way to get there is to join groups on social media where other learners gather, so that you can share information with them and learn from whatever tools they are using. There are so many apps too that you can use right now, so why not take advantage of technology? Okay, so let's talk about strategies to make your process easier and more enjoyable, because in the end, what you want is to go from 0 to fluent the best way possible. So how are we going to do this? Number one, you have to set a plan. You need to make a decision. Once you make a decision, set a plan. And this plan needs to be clear. Your objectives need to be clear and realistic. Once you decide what you need and what you want, you need to decide how you're going to get there. So, are you going to study by yourself? Are you going to find a tutor? Are you going to go to online classes or to a real school? There are many possibilities. What is the best one for you? That all depends on your personality, on your taste, on your time, on your location. So keep all of these things in mind and try to be flexible when making this type of decision. Do not compare your learning process to other people's learning process. Everybody learns in a different way, different time, different strategies, different characteristics. So you're one of a kind. Respect that and remember that. Don't forget, because what might take me a week to learn might take you 2 weeks or vice versa. It doesn't matter how long it takes you. What's important is that you're learning it forever, and that it's going to help you get to your final objective. So remember that. Respect your process and enjoy it. So once you set your plan, you make your decision, and you have your objectives clear, you have to find your teacher, your school, and once you do that, you need to stay consistent. So how are you gonna do that? And that's one of the most difficult things, like we mentioned before. You need to set a schedule. If you're going to classes, respect your schedule and make it a priority. It's important. And remember, this is not forever. It's just a period of your time. So the faster you do it, the faster you will learn and the faster it will end. So respect your times for classes. When you don't go to class, set a schedule to study at home. Don't see it like study, but practice. Practice what you learned and find activities that you can use to relate whatever you're learning in class to your personal life and to make it more enjoyable. Doesn't matter what your hobbies are. I'm sure that anything that you like doing, you can relate it to English. You can associate it. You can find material in English. You can find content. You can watch videos, listen to music, watch TV, movies. Doesn't matter. Do what you love, but bring the language into it every single day of your life. The more you do it, the easier it will get. And practice. Talk as much as you can. It doesn't matter who you talk to. You can talk to your teacher, talk to your classmates, find people that want to practice English, talk to your friends or family members that speak the language, but talk. Do not be afraid to make mistakes. Do not let fear stop you. Not speaking the language is going to prevent you from growing. I'd like you to remember that I am sharing these tips and experiences with you from both perspectives. Remember, I was once a learner and I am now a teacher. So I incorporated all of that information and all of those memories so that I can give you the best advice possible on how a language should be learned. It's been almost 25 years since I started learning English and more than 10 years since I started teaching it. So this is my conclusion. This is what I want to share with you. To go down that road to success, you need to follow a few simple steps. And I promise you, if you do so, you will get there. So let's summarize. Number 1, set a plan and make it clear. Number 2, be realistic with your objectives. Number 3, find a good guide. Number 4, make it a pleasurable experience by incorporating the language into your daily life and the things that make you happy and bring you joy. And number 5, stay consistent. Make the time, make the decision to learn. Remember, it's not going to be forever, it's temporary. And I promise you, if you do this, you will get there and you will be so happy that you made those decisions. It is possible. I am telling you, as a former learner and now an English teacher, you can do it. And I want to thank you for your time and your attention. Thank you for being here today. Wherever you are, I want to send you my best wishes and I hope that you get what you want from this beautiful language. Doesn't matter what it is, if you want it to work, to study, to travel, or just because you enjoy learning a language, I promise you, once you learn to love English, you will love it forever. So thank you for your time and I wish you a good night, good day, good afternoon, goodbye.